I've got 6 o'clock, so I want to call this meeting to order. Tuesday, April 10th, meeting of the City of Aiken Planning Commission. I would ask anybody that's got cell phones, if you would put them on silent for the duration of the meeting. I'd appreciate it. Spare us any interruptions that we can avoid. Okay, first item, approval of the minutes of the March 13, 2018 work session and regular meeting. Any additions or corrections to those minutes? Okay, have a motion.
Motion to accept.
Motion to accept. Second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Okay. Minutes are approved. Old business, no old business on the agenda. So we'll move right into new business. We have 3 applications. Application 3A, application number 18-60005, rezoning request, 1012 Lawrence Street, Northwest by WG Development. Anybody here to speak on behalf of this request? Yes, sir.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'm Jim Price.
Please, Mr. Price, step to the mic and state your name and address.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'm Jim Price, have residence at 31 Winthrop Drive and a farm on the Edisto River. I'm here representing the buyer and the seller on this rezoning petition. As we went through in our earlier meetings, the rezoning criteria is listed both by us and by staff. We're asking for a GB zoning, and I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
This is a request to change the zoning from the single-family residential RS10 to the general business GB. Correct. And we have staff comments in our memorandum given to us, which seem to indicate that the staff is in agreement with this change in zoning, listing the items that we can see in the memorandum: the consistency, the compatibility, the suitability of the product for uses permitted by the existing zoning and the proposed zoning, the need for additional property with proposed zoning classifications within the city limits, and availability of sewer, water, stormwater, and transportation facilities is okay. So, questions?
Mr. Chair, before we go any further, I need to recuse myself from this item.
Okay. Anybody else? I hope not. Good. Okay, questions for Mr. Price? This is for the information just of the of anybody that may be interested. It's part of a parcel, part of a approximately 45-acre parcel out on Rutland Drive at the corner of Rutland and Lawrence, Highway 19 North. And this is approximately 4.91 acre parcel that they're requesting the zoning change. Any questions, anybody? Now's the time.
I think we asked you this before in the work session, but do you have any plans, concrete plans for the site?
We do. We have what we would call prospects to be there. What we intend to do is to, once we purchase the property, then we'll enter into agreements with clients. We certainly like our clients to announce where they're coming and when they're coming, instead of us, as we never enter into a lease agreement until we own the property.
Understand. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And I see there's a stormwater detention pond located on the property too.
Yes, there is. We will comply. We will certainly comply with the city's ordinance on stormwater.
Yeah, there's a big separate drainage easement. I see that. Okay. All right. Any other questions? Mr. Price. Okay. Do we have a motion? Yes, sir. You can be seated. Anybody here speaking in opposition to this request? Okay. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, in
Yes, sir.
regards to application number 18-60005, tax parcel number 120-09-05-002, current zoning, single-family resident, proposed zoning, general business, I move that we send this to council for a vote.
With our approval,
With our approval.
correct?
Correct.
Okay. Second.
Second.
Okay. Discussion.
You might add, Charles, that this is consistent with
With
the
the
comprehensive
plan.
plan, yes, sir, to that motion.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Second, still second?
Second.
Okay. Any further comments, discussion? All right. All in favor? Right hand. Opposed? We have one recusal. Okay. Item 2B. This is application number 18-60006, rezoning request again for property located on 201 Lindsay Drive Northwest, 1.2 acres, from single-family residential RS6 to Office O. Now, do we have anybody that wants to speak on behalf of this request? Yeah, Mr. Frost.
Tom Frost, 707 Laurel Drive Southwest. Had this property for a while, and we, my partner and I, we had it annexed so we could get city services, and really the neighbors, the only complaints we had, the neighbors were worried about putting small houses in there, because it's RS6, you could put 5 small houses in there, and we just have felt over the years it's not the right use for that property, you know. We figured we'd go with office, it'd be a much more attractive landscaping and building. And we talked to planning director, and he thought it'd be the best use for this property, so.
Okay. And this property is out near the medical facilities,
Right.
near the hospital, near the doctor's offices,
Next to the DeVita dialysis.
dialysis center already. So, seems appropriate to me.
Dr. Anderson's on the other corner, so.
Okay? Okay, thank you, Don. Opposition, anybody wants to speak in, yes, sir, or yes, ma'am?
My name is Colleen Reed. I live at 133 Kimberly Drive Northwest. I'm diagonally across the street from the property in question. The residential neighborhood that I live in is called Gregg Forest. My parents built the house in 1968 when there was still no Calmia Landing. At present, there's a lot of traffic on Hudson Road. It is being used as a cut-through or thoroughfare between Gregg Avenue and Trolley Line Road. The hospitals and offices on the Medical Parkway generate a lot of traffic onto Hudson Road, and many cars are speeding down the road. Adding another office would only add more traffic. Currently, the urology center patients and staff park on the lawn. Sometimes there is parking on both sides of Hudson Road, which basically turns it into a one-lane road. Another office would compound parking issues and could possibly create issues on Lindsay Drive, which would directly adversely affect me. It used to be safe to walk along Hudson Road, even though there were no sidewalks. The increased traffic along Hudson has now made it dangerous, especially during daylight hours. My suggestion would be to keep the offices on the west side of Hudson Road. If they are allowed onto the east side, it could turn Hudson Road, which now has houses on the east side, into another Doherty Road, and would significantly change the neighborhoods. Beware of the law of unintended consequences.
Would you do me a favor and just point out on that map which lot
Okay.
is yours? Just walk over to it.
Right here.
Okay. You're on the corner of Kimberly and Lindsay.
Yes.
How long have you lived there? Long time.
Well, my parents built the house in 1968. I've lived there about 10 years.
You currently live there now?
Yeah, I do.
So you said there was a lot of traffic on Hudson.
Yes, we used to be able to walk around the block. We can't do that anymore.
How about Lindsay Drive?
Lindsay Drive, there is increased traffic, but they're not speeding as fast as the people going down Hudson Road.
Hudson goes from Gregg. Hudson is the road off Gregg.
Yes, it goes to Trolley Line.
Winds through there back to Trolley Line.
And Medical Park comes up the hill and intersects
Right, right.
Hudson, yes. And there's offices all down Medical Park, and I don't have a problem with that. But if you come across the street to the east side, I do have a problem with that.
And you're aware that under the current zoning, there's some flexibility to put lots of houses on that fairly small site.
I understand that.
And do you think that
But it
would...
would still keep it a residential area.
Okay. Questions? Anybody else? Questions? Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
And I am Peggy Elliott. I live at 211 Lindsay Drive. If I may, let me show you.
Yes,
where
ma'am.
my-
Show us your lot if you don't mind.
My house directly abuts the site in question. It's right here.
Okay, it's right across Kimberly then from this other lady.
Her, yes,
Gotcha.
yes.
Across Kimberly or
Across Lindsay.
Lindsay?
Lindsay.
Lindsay.
Across Lindsay.
Across Lindsay.
It's across Lindsay, not Kimberly.
Right.
All right, all right.
This is Kimberly. This is her lot. This is where she lives. This is Lindsay, and that's mine.
So you're adjacent to the property?
You're right next to the site.
I'm right next to the site, yes.
Okay.
And I just have some observations. Because my home directly abuts this site, I think that, or what I'm most concerned about is traffic around my home and people walking around my home. I already have people who walk onto my property in order to get through his, in order to get to the hospital. And I feel a little violated by that. If there were egress and ingress only from Hudson Drive and not anything from Lindsay, I think that it would be more beneficial. And I would like to request that Lindsay be used to separate that site from my home so that there's not unintentional parking on my property or unintentional intrusion, litter, things like that. I'd also like to point out that there is a continuing drainage problem on Hudson Road that I don't know whether you had to work with it.
The Howard Department has redone that pipeline.
Have you done that pipeline?
They had a big pipeline, it was small. Didn't work.
And we got that deep every time we had a good bit of rain. I too am worried about creep, creep of office space into what has historically been one of the most solid neighborhoods in the community, in the city of Aiken. But again, my concern is having people on my property and having cars on my property, having the inability to move within my neighborhood very well. And I don't walk on Hudson Road anymore either. People just go too fast on there. The site in question is about the same size as the site of the urology clinic. Yours is 1.2, and the other one is 1.1. So I hope that if this is approved, that adequate parking is provided. And that things
Oh, yeah,
be
parking,
rearranged.
oh, yeah, parking would have to be provided. Now, what was your comment about ingress and egress? What were you talking about? What was that again?
If on Lindsay Drive, there were no entrances or exits from...
Okay, you would rather the entrances and exits be off of Hudson?
Yes. And since this property up here is already being used as offices, that, it stays within that area. When I bought the place 10 years ago, I had a feeling that there would be some attempt to do this with that property. And I think I would rather see it, used for residential purposes, but not for a number of small houses in order to get the value from the property. I thank you for your attention.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else wants to speak in opposition? Let me ask Mr. Sprouls, did you hear the ladies, you heard the ladies' request that all ingress and egress be used, be restricted to Hudson Road? Do you have a problem with that?
No, it probably would work out pretty good that way,
Well, I don't know what the commission's going to do, but it, that's certainly, I think, within our purview, isn't it? You could restrict it if we approve it. We could restrict the ingress and egress to Hudson Road, and we might also could require barriers and restrictions and tree lines and that kind of thing to be placed on the site to give you as much protection as possible.
So, Mr. Chairman, as part of a site plan, when it were to come through for this, that is already a requirement that it would, a landscape buffer would need to exist between residential property and an office zone use property.
Is the site flat, relatively flat, or is it on a grade? Okay. But the stormwater problems that she mentioned are not, ma'am, on your property, are not coming from his property. You were discussing.
For years coming around Hudson.
So the drainage issue is on Hudson. That's the issue. It's got nothing to do with your property draining on her property.
No, not, she's up higher.
Okay. So that's a separate issue. I just want to make sure that's clear.
DOT is correct for that drainage problem.
Thank you.
I know there's been some drainage issues out there for a long time. As it gets built up, it creates more problems. Okay, any other questions or anybody else wants to speak in opposition to this request? Okay. Now, we want to discuss this, make a motion. Somebody want to make a motion?
I'll go ahead and start us and make a motion.
Okay.
In reference to application 18-60006, a rezoning request on tax parcel 87-16-03-006. I would make an application that we would recommend this favorably to council for the change. It is consistent with the comprehensive plan. It is a continuation of the medical community that's already existent in the Aiken area. But I would put a I guess Mr. Chairman called a stipulation, and that would be, after hearing the comments of Ms. Reed and Ms. Elliott and Mr. Sprawls, that the entrances that we would recommend to council, the entrances be located on Hudson Road and not on Lindsay Drive, as one of the stipulations of that.
Okay.
Is there a second? Second.
Okay. Now, we can discuss it. Any comments, any discussion, any of the motion, any further discussion? I understand where y'all are coming from with request to this. I think it can be done in a way that would have very limited impact on you. And we would certainly, I certainly agree with the motion to restrict the access to Hudson Road, and the site plan could be prepared so that it would have minimal impact.
Because I was thinking, Jack, you have, let's say 5 separate residential parcels in there, and let's just say a minimum of 2 cars per parcel. That's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week access, versus a medical office that might be only Monday through Friday, daylight working hours.
Basically 8 to 5.
8 to 5. So that's what I was kind of thinking of, because I really wanted to listen, and I did to Ms. Reed and Ms. Elliott, and I have but it's there. They both admitted the traffic is a issue already on Hudson Drive, so I don't believe that's, by adding this, it's going to change anything. People do speed up and down that road. I'm well aware of that, but I don't think it will change anything. So.
Yeah, it's probably, it was inevitable that that road would be used as a cut through although I'm not convinced that's a whole lot shorter, frankly, than riding down the light and taking a right. But I know people think things that sometimes are not borne out by the facts, but there is a lot of traffic going down there, and there's a lot of traffic that going to the hospital too, and going to the, what's the physical, going to the Y, and I mean, not the Y, but
the dialysis.
The dialysis center, and there's a lot of use there, and a lot of those doctors' offices, and there might be closer to get to that big doctor's office building there. Might be closer that way than going out to the light. Okay, any other comments about this motion? Okay, all in favor of the motion? Right hand. Opposed, like sign? Okay. It's approved with those, as stated, with the restrictions on the access.
It'll be up to the clerk to put that on the next city council.
Next city council, yes. Yes. Okay, 3C. This is a request, application number 18-60007, rezoning request, 616 Park Avenue Southeast, rezoning from single-family residential to GB, general business.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to go ahead and make a note that I need to recuse myself on this item as well.
Okay, okay, good. Now, who wants to speak? Anybody here to speak in favor of, on behalf of this request? Okay, Thompson, come on up.
Jane Page Thompson, 240 Knox Avenue. This parcel is in a block that is all general business with the exception of 616. 616 was made residential probably about 4 years ago because of the residential allowance for an 8-foot privacy fence between a residential and a commercial business, which is the Salvation Army shelter. The person, Katie Lipscomb, who is hoping to purchase or has purchased this property, has an intention to take down the fence. So it makes sense to go in and return it back to general business, so it'll be in compliance with the rest of the lots in the block, so that she's no longer a non-conforming parcel within that block. And it's also within the comprehensive plan to create an expansion of the downtown footprint further down Park towards the farmer's market and towards Beaufort Street, and having an energetic, civic-minded person such as Ms. Lipscomb in that neighborhood will do nothing but expand the energy that we see going down Park Avenue outside of the intersection of Lawrence and Richland. So I would say that it definitely conforms to the comprehensive plan. It is in conforming use because it is the only residential parcel, zoned residential parcel on the block. I'm trying to look at all the other criteria. Sewer and water are, of course, already there. There's no other conflict with any of the other city indicia. I do note that there is a letter that came in from one of the neighbors who is concerned. That parcel is a rental. It's being used as a rental, and that parcel is general business. It's zoned general business. So we're just asking to go back to what that parcel is as well. I think there were, maybe planning received a couple of letters in support of this as well. Do you all have any questions for me?
The entire block basically appears to be general business.
Entire block with the exception of this one parcel, and back in 2013 or 2014, it was changed from general business to residential only because of the allowance of an 8-foot privacy fence for residential rather than a 6-foot privacy fence. And the bathroom of this house faces the common area room of the Salvation Army overnight shelter. And for the owner's privacy, she felt she wanted an 8-foot fence. Mm-hmm. That is no longer the intended purpose of the fence, and so it's no longer an issue. So we're now asking that it go back to general business.
Now so the owner is Ms. Guy.
Mrs. Guy has sold the property to Mrs. Lipscomb.
And Mrs. Lipscomb is already bought it. Yes,
today. We weren't sure if Mrs. Lipscomb was going to be the owner today or if Mrs. Guy was going to be the owner today, so I'm the person talking to you today. But yes, as of 3:15 today, Mrs. Lipscomb now owns the property.
And is Ms. Lipscomb have any plans for the property?
She's here if you...
Yeah, okay. We'll let her speak if you're through.
My name's Katie Lipscomb. I live at 307 Cherbourg Place. My business is material things. I'm currently at 318 Park, down between Union and Fairfield. Mm-hmm. My wish is to get out of day-to-day retail, and I'm in a day-to-day retail storefront. By moving to this location, I can become more of a design studio. So, I've looked at a lot of property to purchase for my business over the years, and I just looked over and saw this one and saw the big, beautiful live oaks and the empty lot and the adorable cottage, and I'm like, this is it. So, I don't know what my future plans will be exactly with the extra lot, but I'm excited that, and the city council meeting last night, one of the goals was expanding downtown to the farmers market area, so I hope I can help energize down there and do that.
So did you buy the lot next to it too?
Yes.
Okay, so you own both lots now?
Correct.
Gotcha. Yeah, there's nice trees on it, no question about it. No question about it. You don't tend to cut any of them down, I assume?
No, I like trees.
Okay, questions of Ms. Lipscomb by anyone?
So is the major reason for the rezoning is to take down the privacy fence, or is it?
No. I'm not going to take that fence down. I'm going to lower it in the front.
Okay.
That was a miscommunication today.
That's okay. So your intent is to develop the two properties?
In some way, shape, or form, yeah. But right now, it's just going to be a design studio in the cottage for the foreseeable future. So... Is that,
Anybody other, any other questions you threw, Bob? You got any more?
No, sir.
Anybody else? Okay.
If the neighborhood residents, the ones that are opposed to this, are just concerned what you were going to do with the property, and that's why we wanted to ask you that tonight. You wouldn't have to even tell us that, that's not what's before us, but we want to, as a planning commission, to be able to recommend something to council that makes sense. And so if you said that you were going to do something, I would consider that, but if you're going to do a design studio and use that, then that's something that we have to take into consideration, so.
and I hope I can keep a Dollar General from going in there. Because, I mean, they could in the lot next door, so.
Sure. Well, you know, every single piece on the entire block, it looks like is GB, with the exception of this one little lot. And that's explanations, you know, make sense. They wanted a little bit higher fence, so they went back to, I'm not sure, I guess going back from GB to residential, that might have been appropriate at the time. I don't know. It's a little strange, but strange things happen. Okay, anybody any other questions of Ms. Lipscomb? Okay, thank you, ma'am. Anybody else want to speak about this in any way? Okay, we have a motion.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Discussion, can we?
You want to suspend the rules? You want to make the motion and then discuss it?
Wait till the motion and we'll discuss it.
Okay, make the motion. Somebody make a motion.
Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion regarding application number 18-60007, tax parcel number 121-06-14-013, purpose of single-family residential to general business, staying consistent with the comprehensive plan. Make a motion to recommend City Council for this, that's what I'm looking for, application for our approval for consideration.
Okay, second?
Second.
Okay, now discussion.
Okay, now the question is that because Ms. Lipscomb just told us that she's the official owner, does that need to be amended on the application that we're going to forward to council? And can we do that legally right here now? Because we've got applicant Jane Page Thompson and then the owner is Marie Guy. If in fact we've been told that Katie owns the property now, can we just amend that application as it goes forward in the motion?
We should be able to just amend that. We'll check with legal just to make sure, but I think it should be able to be.
Yeah.
Right,
The applicant's still the same.
Ownership has changed, so can he make it part of the motion maybe?
We would just do it on the paperwork side. We would document from the current owner that they were party to the application and allowing the same applicant to.
I just don't want her to have to come back next month because.
Right.
No, she's the applicant hadn't changed, so I think you can work that out in-house. We can work that out in-house.
Yeah, it'll just be a document to
Just want to make sure, cover all bases.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Everybody in favor, right hand? Raise your right hand. Opposed? Okay, and we have one recusal. Okay, that concludes. Do we have a motion for adjournment? Second. All in favor?
Aye.